Hi guys, so it's time for another ULEZ update, and first of all I want to look at something that has been discussed by a very experienced veteran motoring journalist, and probably the only mainstream motoring journalist that I know of who has actually been taking this ULEZ expansion issue seriously. His name is Mike Rutherford. You may know him. He has been on TV and on many programs, but he also has a long-running column in the autoexpress. And in that column, most recently, he wrote about something that's also concerned me a lot as well, is that when you talk about the contribution of cars, of passenger cars, personal cars, to the level of toxic pollution in London, how does that actually break down as a percentage? And like me, he went looking for that data and he couldn't find it because it's just not readily available. So he went a step further and he started to look at, well, basically he went through all of the tons of data that's available from various different government departments, and he started to collate them and pull them all together, and he managed to now actually break them down into basically a top 10 hierarchy of what contributes to the level of toxic air pollution. And I think that you'll find this quite interesting. So if we start at number one, so what is the biggest single contributor to toxic air pollution? Energy creation and supply. That sector is accountable for 21% of it alone. So that's just for that sector. That is, and that's kind of understandable. And we need energy, and we need it to be supplied to our homes. I'm using energy at the moment. I've got a couple of lights on me and stuff like that. I'm using my laptop and my phone. So, you know, we need energy. But 21% of the pollution in the air comes from that sector. At number two, it says other business, industry and commercial activity. That accounts for 18%. Again, we need enterprise, we need business, but yeah, that's a big amount and that makes sense. Number three, we also need houses to live in. So housing, residential living. So this is mainly emissions from heating, hot water, cooking, lighting and cleaning. That accounts for 16%. Then at number four, we move to agriculture, and people have talked a lot about how much agriculture contributes to it, but again, it's something that we need, it's something that humanity needs. Agriculture, land use change and forestry, that accounts for 12%. And then at number five, we actually then move to road transport, and in this, he's thankfully broken it down even further. So number five is vans, trucks, buses, coaches, bin lorries, construction vehicles, tractors, motorcycles, basically all road vehicles, excluding cars and taxis, and shipping, domestic only, not international aviation. So he's just looked at not airplanes travel to other countries, but within the country itself, and railway activities as well. That in total accounts for 12%. So that actually is equal to the one above it, which is agriculture. So fourth and fifth place equal. At sixth place, so it's 6 out of 10, finally, we get to cars driven by private individuals, company cars and other business drivers, vehicle rental companies, car driving employees at large organization. That comes to 10%. So the cars that you and I use, the cars that are being attacked, the cars that are being targeted, the cars that will have to pay things like the ULEZ expansion charges, they account for about 10% of the total toxic air pollution that we have in the air. Of course, you can define toxic air pollution any way you want, but anyway, according to the available information that we have at the moment. So that's at number 6. Number 7 is the waste business. That's about 4%. Then we have various other at 8, the unnamed sectors, that's also 4%. And then number 9, we actually then have taxis and minicabs, and they account for a further 2%. And then at number 10, we have unknown, that's 1%. If you were to say, okay, why has taxis and minicabs been separated? Okay, well, you know what? Lump it together with the cars driven by private individuals, etc. That's 10 plus 2, that's still 12%. So it still comes, if you like, it still come where it comes. You could say joint fourth place, because then it's the same as agriculture, and it's the same as commercial vehicles, and so they all account for 12%. But if you break it down this way, the cars that we use, the cars that are specifically being targeted, 10%. That's all that it actually accounts for. That's extraordinary. And they make it out as if we are, or the cars that we drive are the fundamental reasons that people are breathing bad air and dropping dead. No, we're the sixth reason, if you like. In fact, it's worth pointing out, and again, I referred earlier to how you want to define toxic air pollution and what level of air pollution, etc., etc. And it is worth pointing out, I mean, as we keep saying, that the air is cleaner. And in fact, I have been looking into the air in my region. Actually, let me just come back to that. Let me just finish this point first. It's a widely accepted fact that exhaust emissions in the UK have fallen by 90% since 1996. That's because cars have just got better, including diesel cars. The technology, the emissions, the engines, the efficiency, the cleanliness, the catalytic converters, all the rest of it has just made them better. The vast majority of cars that we drive are newer cars, and they are already better. But somehow that's not being taken into account. Anyway, that's one part of it. And then the other part is obviously the air. What is the air quality like? Is it really bad? Because we're told that in most of London it's illegal. It's just so bad that it's actually illegal. Well, I've been looking at air in my area, which is Brent, at various times and at various places, and I've compiled that over a course of about 3 to 4 weeks. I've compiled that, and I found that actually only 4 days, I think, in total. You'll see it. I'll put all of them at the end of this video. But only 4 of those days were in the yellow, not even in the red, not barely even in the orange, but in the yellow, as in moderate warning. And the vast majority of it was in the green. I think there may have been, looking back at the graphs, there may have been certain times of day when they appeared to jump into the red momentarily, but the majority of the time, as you'll see, it's firmly in the green. Now, when we talk about ULEZ, and a lot of people go, no, it doesn't affect me, it's not my problem, I either have a ULEZ compliant car, or I don't live in London, or I've got an EV, so I'm absolutely fine. However, we know now, and I put this into my last update, proof that pay per mile is coming, or is mooted to come, or is planned to come, or there's potential for it to come. It's right there in the documents. But now, forget about the documents. Sadiq Khan has actually openly admitted, it's actually now on record that he said, yes, this is something that they're heading towards. So pay per mile, and that will apply to everybody, and that will apply to all cars, including EVs. Right, and it's obvious to assume, it's straightforward. I mean, it's not a difficult jump to go from pay per mile in London to pay per mile across the country. Because just think about it. Yes, okay, he's putting in cameras in London. You can't blanket the whole country with cameras. Maybe you can, but even if you can't, the fact is that ultimately all our mobile phones are being tracked. That's, do you know that that's how Google Maps and Waze and things like that, that's how they know that traffic is busy in an area or it isn't busy in another area? It's basically through your phones, because you're already being tracked. So that's one thing. You got number plate recognition, and it doesn't take a lot of genius to basically install trackers in cars. I mean, we already have that technology, so it wouldn't be hard to put pay per mile into cars. And again, with the EV people, and they're thinking all our cars are clean. Well, there's a new report out. Scientists are increasingly concerned by the health impact of air pollution produced by the wear of vehicle tires. The particles are especially damaging due to toxic chemicals they are made from, say the scientists from Imperial College London. Now, this Imperial College London has come up a few times. They have written a number of these reports, including that report that Sadiq Khan is using to extrapolate these so-called apparent 4,000 deaths a year due to poor air pollution. This report, this new one about the tires, estimates that 52% of all the small particle pollution from road transport actually came from tire and brake wear in 2021, plus a further 24% from the roads and the paint markings. Hey, you know what? That's the council's problem, right? We're already paying road tax for them to sort that out. That's not our problem. Have you seen the state of the roads? They are wheel killers. Let's be honest. I fear for my car when I go out. The ruts, the potholes and everything are so bad. I know a friend of mine suffered damage to his car at one time, and it goes on. Just 15% of the emissions come from the exhaust of cars, and a further 10% of exhaust of vans and HGVs. Hang on a minute. Are you, Imperial College, now just actually admitting yourself that it's not the exhaust emissions of cars that are the major contributor? You've just said now that 52% of the pollution is from tire and brake wear, 24% is from the roads themselves and the paint markings, and just 15% is from the emissions of the cars, and only 10% from vans and HGVs. What? Lies and statistics, man. What are you trying to say here? One expert from Imperial's Department of Mechanical Engineering says even if all vehicles eventually become powered by electricity instead of fossil fuels, we will still have harmful pollution from vehicles because of tire wear. But, I've got to say, one thing that they are completely neglecting here is that tires are kind of crucial. If you need a vehicle and you're going to get around the vehicle, you fundamentally need tires. You need to remember that the only point of contact in the car between the car and yourself in the car and the ground is actually the tires. And the tires are fundamentally quite important. And tire technology, again, has advanced leaps and bounds, and tires keep us safe because they keep us gripped to the road. When you have wet, snowy, icy conditions like we have today, you rely on good tires because that's what's going to keep you safe. So you're talking about A, the safety aspect of tires, and B, when they talk about brake dust, I mean, this is a necessity. When you talk about brakes, what are you saying? You want to take away brakes? You are telling me that brake dust is detrimental to people's health. Can we find, or can someone out there please find me a statistic in terms of how many millions, I dare say billions of lives are saved by the simple act of braking or using brakes in cars? We've got to weigh this. We can't just have one side and not have the other side. You've got to weigh this up. These are necessities. You can't start to tax necessities. Otherwise, what comes next? Are you going to bill us for breathing or fine us for farting? I mean, is that where we're going? Technology is improving. And we've got to highlight this as well. So the reality is that, as we've already said, that we've seen that 90% drop in emissions because car engineering has improved so much since 1996. Tire technology is improving, brake technology is improving. In fact, brake dust you don't get from ceramic brakes. Ceramic brakes at the moment are just very expensive, so you only get them in high-end sports cars. But actually, you don't. If you all had ceramic brakes, that would automatically reduce significantly anyway. So that's another. But again, there are issues with ceramic brakes. But again, there may be another material that could be deployed. It's okay to highlight these issues. It's okay to highlight and say, look, we have this problem with tire wear, we have this problem with road wear, because again, tarmac technology could be looked at, the paint that they use for the road markings, that technology could be looked at, and braking technology could be looked at. If we're raising these issues as something that needs to be looked at and evolve with the help of technology and science to improve it and make it more efficient, that's a good thing. But if we're highlighting these issues simply because, hey, we can make money out of this by sending all the drivers down a guilt trip because they're killing children, because they're driving their cars on our roads that are also rubbish, then, I think that's a little bit out of order. Going back to the air quality thing, I'll put that at the end. There's one final thing I want to touch on because a number of people I saw this footage myself as well. It was from the other night when there was, I think it was an Ealing, and there was a mayor's public question time thing, and basically a bunch of protesters, several of whom I know from the protests that I've covered recently in Bromley and in Trafalgar Square, were there, and he basically dismissed them. He's choosing to ignore people's legitimate concerns and their legitimate arguments against the ULEZ expansion, and basically insisting that anyone that argues against expansion are far-right nutters, COVID and climate deniers. I, for one, can I reiterate once again, and I've said this in much of my content before, that I am not a climate denier. I am very concerned about the climate. I have kids, and I do feel that it's something that we need to look at. But again, as I'm saying, and I'm a proponent of EVs as well. I'm a fan of EVs. I think EVs are definitely part of the solution. I don't think they're the only solution going forward. I think we need to look at a number of alternatives, but definitely EVs are part of it. EVs themselves, of course, they come with their own baggage that also needs to be addressed, but they're part of the solution, and I think we need to look at a number of solutions going forward to help ourselves, to help our health, but also to help the health of the planet. I completely agree with that. I will also reiterate that I also do not disagree with ULEZ in central London. I never have. I'm like, yes, congestion charging and ULEZ in central London, it makes sense, and also the benefits of that are clear to be seen, and this is my problem. Those benefits are clear to be seen. I've discussed the numbers in the previous video, you can refer to that, but this one, and I've discussed this in a major video, that you cannot see the benefits. TfL's own report says there are negligible benefits, and in some areas the socio-economic implications of it are actually negative. You just cannot justify this, and that's why I have a problem with it. So to dismiss us all as far-right nutters, I think is a little bit out of hand and a little bit unfair, Mr. Sadiq Khan. And I think that, we're not like that. We have legitimate concerns, we have legitimate problems, and we don't feel that you've actually justified this. To be honest, if somebody did justify this to me and explain why this is really good and where those numbers are coming from and where the evidence for the improvements or the saving of lives is, I might say, yeah, okay, maybe we do have to do this, but I'm not convinced. What's more, and I need to send this message out to petrol heads and car guys and the car community and the classic car community, this will impact you. I wrote a story. The story is now on browncarguy.com. Please do check it out. It's a work of fiction. It's not real, and it's not me predicting the future. It's just purely fiction. And I have to be honest with you. I don't normally recall my dreams. I don't recall the dream that I had, but I must have had some kind of a nightmare, because I woke up yesterday morning with that story in my head. And it's a nightmare scenario of what is coming ahead. And we have seen this from the pay per mile implications that are happening, and also from further implications down the lines that are coming from LTNs and 15-minute cities and the C40 strategies, which is basically a global cabal of mayors of major cities around the world and their plans for the future. And ultimately those plans involves restricting and ultimately potentially stopping us entirely from using our cars. So, as I've said repeatedly, the line must be drawn here, this far, no further. If we don't make this stand now, then I fear that it's going to be a domino effect. Go read that story. It might give you the chills. It certainly kept me awake. Anyway, catch you all in the next video. Hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please hit the like button and share this video as well if you can. And while you're at it, check out these guys who also sponsor my content. I am deeply grateful to them because it helps me to buy new equipment, put fuel in the cars, and yes, buy a cup of coffee. You can do the same. Just go here or right here on YouTube. Just hit these three little dots down here and click on thanks. Make sure you're signed in first. My content is free, but this is how you can help me keep it that way. I may even send you a gift. Oh, by the way, watch this next.